Today we're going to talk about putting rational numbers in order from least to greatest, and then we are also going to talk about inequalities. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this. So our first example, so the directions tell us to put them in order from least to greatest. So when you take a look at this, you have 4 tenths, 7 tenths, 60%, and 32 hundredths. The easiest way to put these in order from least to greatest is going to be to get everything in the same format. So if you decided that you wanted to put them all in fraction form, then they have to be, you're going to want to put them to where they have the same denominator. Problem with that is it's extremely difficult to get all of the 4 fractions to have the same denominator. So I would never do it that way. Another way is to change it to a decimal. And then the other way is you can change it to a percent. So when we made our foldable, we talked about converting fractions to decimals to percents. Okay? So no matter what, so if you look at fraction, decimal, percent, no matter what I give you, you're always one step or less away from a decimal. So when we put things in order from least to greatest, we're always going to convert them into decimals. Okay? So if we take a look at the problem here, so we have 4 tenths. That's already a decimal. So we look at 7 tenths. That's a fraction. We need to change that to a decimal. Now, on your calculator, you're just going to go 7 divided by 10, hit enter, and you'll get it as a decimal. So what you would do now is, I would just write 7 tenths. Okay? Now, we have 60%. Now, we want to convert a percent to a decimal. Raise your hand. How do we change a percent to a decimal? Okay, you could do that. That's a way to do it. So what he said was 60 divided by 100, and you'll get it as a decimal. Awesome. There's another way that you could do it. Dr. Pepper. So remember, we talked about Dr. Pepper and the decimal. If they never give you the decimal, it is always at the end. So that decimal is right here, and you would move that 2 times to the left. So we have 7 tenths, and then we have 6 tenths or 60 hundredths. And then our last one is we have 32 hundredths. And then our first one is we had 4 tenths. Now, what I would get in the habit of doing is, because you have 2 of them that are in hundredths, I would make sure that they're all hundredths. Okay, so that would be 7 tenths, that would be 70 hundredths. Okay? So now, what I would do is, now that we have it as decimal, we have it rounded to, to 2 decimal places. Think of it like money. So, smallest. So you have 40 cents, 70 cents, 60 cents, 32 cents. What is our smallest number? So 3200. Now, when we write this, we're going to write it down in the format that they originally gave us. So what we would do here is we would put 0 and 32 hundredths. Okay? What's the next largest number? So the way they have it here is 4 tenths. So we would put 0 and 4 tenths. What's next? 60 hundredths, but how would I write that? Well, no, remember, we're going to write it in the original format. There you go, 60%. So we would put 60%, and then the next one would be 7 tenths. So we would just put 7 over 10. So there we go, there's our answer. So we put that in order from least to greatest, and that's all we have to do. So what I would like for y'all to do now is I would like for y'all to do this bottom problem right here, the 2 and 7 hundredths. I would like for y'all to do that now. So, we take a look at this problem here. What is our smallest number?
-2 and 6700.
So remember, we start introducing negatives. So when you are looking at negatives, the farther away from 0 you are on the negative side, the smaller the number is. Would you rather owe me $5 or $10? $5. I would rather you owe me $10. Okay, because that puts $5 more in my pocket. So that would be -2 and 67 hundredths. The next smallest number would be 1 and 5 hundredths.
The improper fraction, 18/7.
So remember, whenever we write it, we're going to put what the original is. So that would be 18 sevenths. Okay, but yes, that is right. Okay, what's next? What's our next largest number? What hand's going up?
It's gonna be. Wait. 207?
2 and 7 hundredths. Okay, and then last it would be 2 and 67 hundredths. So, what I would like for you to do now is to do the next problem, and then we will discuss that. Do that now. So, if we take a look at this problem here, we converted all of those into decimals. So, our smallest number is going to be, tell me, 1/3. So that takes this out right here. What's next? 1 and 1/2. Next would be
1 3/5.
1 3/5. And then lastly would be
1 7/8.
1 and 7/8. Okay? Now, remember on the next one, if we take a look at this, so when we're talking about square roots, okay? So this says the square root of 26, -20, 13.5, and the square root of 35. Remember, on your calculator, that square root is right here where the x squared is. Now, it's in yellow on mine, but for your calculator, it's blue. So to gain access to that, you're going to have to hit the second key, then hit the squared, and then type in the number, and then you can hit enter, and it will change that. Now, what I would do is I would pick a number of decimal places that you would want to go. It may be 1, it may be 2, it may be 3. It all depends on how everything plays out. So, please do that now. So, you change them all to decimals. So, square root of 26 was 5 and 10 hundredths. That I rounded that to the nearest hundredth. But I changed everything into 2 decimal places with the exception of the -20. So our smallest number would be what? -20. Our next largest number would be
5
squared.
So that would be
26 squared.
the square root of 26. And then our next largest number would be
35 squared.
so the square root of 35. And then our largest number would be
13.5.
13.5. So that is going to tell us. So remember, whenever you're putting them in order from least to greatest or greatest to least, please make sure that you are, I would change them to decimals and make sure that you keep the same number of decimal places that you need. So moving on. So we got a little bit, we got one vocabulary word that we're going to have to talk about, and it says a blank says that two values are not equal, and that is an inequality. So an inequality says that two values are not equal. Now your inequalities that y'all are going to have to know are less than, greater than, less than or equal to. Get that backwards. Greater than or equal to. Those are the inequalities that we are going to be using, as well as equals. Now remember, with inequalities, the gainer eats the largest number. Okay? Be very careful when we're talking about negatives. The farther away from zero it is on the negative side of the number line, the smaller the number is. So every year I have students who try to tell me that negative 80 is larger than negative 50. So what you're saying is that you'd rather owe me $80 than $50. Okay? So, if we take a look at the first problem here, we have 3 2/7, and then we have 3 2400ths. So, one's already a decimal, so you don't really have to do anything. So, if we take a look at the 2/7, all we're going to do is just go 2 divided by 7, and that's going to give us 2900ths. So, what this is, instead of 3 2/7, I'm going to put 3 in 2900ths. So right now, $3.29, $3.24. Which one's larger? So $3.29 is larger than $3.24. The gator is going to eat the largest number. So what I would like you to do is do the next 3 problems. So the 5 6 3 4s, the negative 4 9s, negative 8 9s, and then we'll take a look at the last 2 problems last. So do that now, please. So we take a look. We have 5 6. Change that to decimal, you get 83 hundredths. 3 4ths, you get 75 cents. So I put 83 hundredths here, and then 75 cents here. Which one's larger? So we would open it up like this. So take a look at the next one. We have 4 9ths, which it's negative 4 9ths. But you're going to get negative 44 cents. And then you look here, you have negative 50 cents. Which one's larger? Negative 44 cents. Remember, when you get to that, think of, so if y'all are listening, I'm talking about this like money. Okay? When you can refer it to money, for me, it makes it a lot easier for me to understand it if I can relate it to money. So take a look at the next one. We have negative 8 9ths, and then we have 3 10ths. So when we do that, we're going to get negative 89 cents, and then we're going to get negative 30 cents. Which one's larger? 3 tenths. So the gator is always going to eat the largest number. So if we take a look at the last 2 problems here. So the way I would do this is, so you have square root of 5 plus 3. So in your calculator, you're going to go square root of 5. Make sure you close the parenthesis because that plus 3 is not inside the square root symbol. So you have square root of 5, close the parenthesis, and then go plus 3. And you get 5 and 24 hundredths. And then the next one, you're going to go 4 plus the square root of 3. And then you close the parenthesis and you hit enter. So what we get here is we get 5 and 24 hundredths. So we get 5 and 24 hundredths, and then we get 5 and 73 hundredths. And the largest number would be the 573. So, what I would like you to do now is to do the last example. So, we have 11 minus the square root of 3, which I entered into the calculator and got 9 and 27 hundredths. And then 5 minus the square root of 3, and I got 3 and 27 hundredths. And it's real obvious 9 is larger than 3, so the gator is going to eat that. So, that is all that we're doing today. So, the remainder of the class, you're going to work on your homework.